Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with it another fascinating evening of intense racing action in the one and only iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC and known as iRacing, and we're here today for Season 3 of 2025 and it's week 4 of 12. We're back with another top split race in our regular 1945 Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time UTC slot. And this fine Wednesday evening, well, we are here in Japan at the Tsukuba Circuit. A circuit more synonymous perhaps with time attack and time trialling, and a circuit in Japan that is used to get the younger generation into motorsport, where it's not typically associated with racing in Porsche Cup, but we're here regardless, and we're here for our shortest circuit of them all for the season. Spanning only 1.27 miles in length and consisting of 9 corners, it's going to be a very tricky circuit to get right in an absolutely perfect qualifying lap, but it's going to be an even harder circuit to overtake at because there's only a number of corners where you're able to go for moves. The hairpins, plus also the back straight, they'll present the opportunities, and therefore this is going to be a race where it's all about qualifying well and then having the patience to wait and look for that move at the right moment. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you to this live broadcast from circuit side. You're tuning in via YouTube at youtube.com and search for none other than TX141. And I hope you're all doing well and all set for a fantastic evening of racing action here as we get set and ready to go racing once again in this fine top split broadcast. But as we can see in terms of our schedule for tonight, times in Greenwich Mean Time or UTC, well, in just under 4 minutes time, we're making our way to the grid for our 27 lap race. Plenty of laps, plenty of racing action. But before we get to that action, let's recap the story so far. And as we make our way then into another week of racing. Well, last time out, we were in Brazil at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and that was for the Wednesday, the 2nd of July slot. And there we got to see some absolutely pristine fights at the front and all the way through the field. But it was Philip Hammer whose consistency was the difference up front, and Damir Makhmutov versus Marcin Gazinski made up the battle for second place, where in the end, a lightning start for Makhmutov meant he was able to hold on to second place, even with the late pressure for Gazinski, who was there with him every step of the way. But Tsukuba today, could we see a very different story play out? But we'll find out shortly as we begin a Japanese doubleheader. And after today, of course, for week number 5, we stay in Japan but head to the Okayama International Circuit for what could be another brilliant round of action. But coming to our circuit for today then, well, we are racing around the 2000 full circuit, and that being in reference to the fact that the circuit spans the best part of 2,000 metres. It's just over 2,000 metres in totality, but that's why it has the name of 2000 full, is reference to the meterage, but 1.27 miles in length here near the city of Shimotsuma in the Ibaraki prefecture of Japan. And well, this circuit is stapled into the minds of many a motorsport enthusiast, and it's normally one of the circuits that you pick up early on in your simulator days, whether it be on iRacing or another simulator. It's definitely one of those circuits where it's all about learning your racecraft. And a big thank you to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but also the track maps that come with it, and we get to see all 9 corners in their absolute glory. 3 huge hairpins, a long sweeper at turn number 9, and in between as well, many a quick fire rapid change direction, and therefore it's going to be one of those circuits where getting it right on the setup is just as important as getting it right as a driver, particularly having a Porsche Cup car that is able to settle down with quick direction change. But as we come onto our rules, this is an open setup series, and our grid shall be set via a closed qualifying session, which is almost complete. The race shall commence via a standing start, with drivers receiving a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 17 or more instant points. They get to 25 and they will be disqualified. But that's enough about rules, regulation, everything in between. We're here for the racing, and well, as all the drivers cool on down now towards the very end of this qualifying session, well, we've only got a couple of drivers out there yet to set valid times, and well, we do have another total of 21 drivers here today. And in terms of your strength of field, well, it's a little bit lower compared to previous weeks of racing. Last time out, we were at 3,869 in week number 3, but for week number 4, we have made our way down to 3,143. And don't be alarmed, don't adjust your TV set out there if you're wondering why you can't see too much out there. It is because it is night time currently at the Tsukuba Circuit, and we're hoping that perhaps a little bit of daylight will arise to the occasion when we do go racing. Otherwise, this one's going to be under a night light, and we'll do our best to try and keep you up to speed with exactly what's happening as it unfolds. But qualifying is complete. It's now time to head to the grid for our one and only race of the day and see how they all line up. Well, as they make the way onto the grid then, this is how all the drivers take to the grid, and it is going to be Adam Kotarski from Poland who takes pole position. He'll be joined on the front row of the grid by Pole Promotion Esports' driver from Germany, Philip Hammer, your winner last time out in the Week 3 broadcast. And then it'll be Bryn Collins who starts third from the UK, ahead of the Norwegian of Christian Carlson, who did well at Interlagos. Then we'll have behind them the combination of none other than Carter Jostock, and he will be ahead of their Dominic Beck. That's your top 6. Starting 7th, Lucio Tonello, and then we'll have alongside the Argentine, the Italian of Rosario Mazzina. Then completing your top 10, it is going to be the combination of Cedric Knurt and Michael Just. Outside the top 10, coming on to row number 6, you'll have the combination there of Maximilian Kamp and Chris Carr, and then from them it will be to the Dutch driver of none other than Lucas Verwey, and he'll be in the company of the Frenchman there of Hadrian Lepeg. We'll then have on row number 8, where it's going to be the Brazilian there of Thiago Martutello, and he'll be in the company of fellow South American driver from Argentina, and it will be none other than Carlos Aquema. We'll then have on row number 9 the combination of Sebastian Svensson and Max Enstrom, a regular of these top splits. We've seen him in all 4 weeks, including this one, if my memory serves me correctly. Then completing your top 20, it'll be Yaro Castellelli ahead of Maciej Komenik, and then last but not least, on this starting order to make up your 21 starting grid, it'll be Frank Porter there, and the Andorran driver will have it all to do from the back of the field. One of a number of drivers who didn't set a valid lap in qualifying, but then again, just because they have a slow start doesn't mean they're going to have a slow finish, and we're very shortly going to be getting underway here for what is expected to be a very different style of race. And there's no strategy to boot, given the fact that we don't have any pit stops expected here. It is a sprint race, but who's going to sprint off into the distance? Well, let's find out then. We've got Kotarski on the right, Hammer on the left, but lights are going on. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go here for the first lap of races. 27 laps get underway in week number 4. It's all gone wrong in the rear of the pitch already. Car around there. Big contact, and I think that's Michael Just who's had a big going around. Well, let's try and find out what's happened to it shortly, but definitely Just has gone the wrong way before he's even gone the right way. And as all the drives now we're all the way on through the corners here, well, now the battling starts to build to a crescendo. And I do believe we might have some slight audio issues there, but we are going to be boosting the audio in the background with regards to the racing. We do apologise for that. But Adam Kotarski right now trying to hold off Bryn Collins and Philip Hammer as they make the way up towards the hairpin. Turn number 8 there for the first time, and as they head in towards that braking zone, well, no change between them, at least at the very moment, but you can imagine here it is going to get very close and firm now as they make the way onwards. Further on back, we have Lucas Verwey. Well, he is getting ahead of Hadrian Lepeg, and Lepeg there having to go battling side by side with Max Enstrom, as Enstrom here making some great progress. 4 places gained since the start of this race, and looking to gain a few more as he heads in towards turn number 9, and Enstrom here, will he be able to make it 5? Well, on the inside there of his fellow rival, the Frenchman there holds around the outside. Enstrom's got the inside line now heading up towards turn number 1, and he'll make the move stick there, moving up into 13th place. Lovely work from Max, but just in front of them we do have Rosario Mazzina, and he's made his way ahead of Chris Carr. Carr having a bit of a slow and poor run out of turn number 1, but easy to get it wrong there at the wide hairpin and the opening corner. 3 hairpins at this circuit, indeed one of the circuits in the world that has the most hairpins of all of them, and right now everybody just trying to get settled down here as we go a little bit deeper into the race distance. But what's to come from this point onwards, we will find out shortly. As we look back behind to Joao Castellelli, and we can see here right now the Brazilian driver, he's all over the back of Carlos Aquema, and the Argentine having a slow start but trying to move forward. We're not quite sure what happened at the very start in terms of who went around. We will try and get a replay of that shortly as we see a swap of places here, and Maciej Komenik also flashing his lights, I think trying to get into the heads of his rivals as they come towards the end of their second tour of the circuit under race conditions, but more laps still to come here, and for now at least, it seems though all is staying stationary, albeit not if you are Sebastian Svensson, as he makes way up the inside. There is, goodness me, that's a big slide from the peg. He goes deep, as does Lucas Verwey. He's gone very deep there at turn number 1. Several drivers getting it wrong at the opening corner, and now as they bring it back together, so easy to get it wrong because it is an uphill braking zone, and the car is essentially leaping its way off the brakes and in towards the apex. But those who are able to get it right are able to make progress here as Verwey tries to go around the outside there of Aquema, and it's a good run. But as now we can see, Carlos here trying to come back of Verwey as they roar the way up towards the hairpin, and right now it's going to look all the way around the outside. This is going to make him go very deep and battle with understeer as Komenik goes up the inside of him, and then you suddenly see Maciej Komenik making his way into 16th place. But from the battling further down the field, there's plenty of battling at the front of the field here as Adam Kotarski, he has got none other than Bryn Collins staying with him, and Collins the fastest driver out there at this time. Philip Hammer just behind them, watching on in 3rd place, and right now nothing between the top 3 who are gradually starting to pull away from the rest of the field. However, we have seen this be a bit of a theme over what is previous weeks and previous rounds of racing, in the fact that we do normally have a couple of drivers who get off to a quick start, only then to find themselves being caught up to by particularly Philip Hammer, who is Mr. Consistent when it comes to the Porsche Cup machine. He may not be the fastest on a single lap pace, but he is definitely an absolute speed demon when it comes to holding those lap times time and time again, and that's what he'll be hoping he can do here. But we have an opportunity to take a look back at what happened right at the start of the race, and this was the race start, ladies and gentlemen, and quite a bit of drama. Now, as the drivers got underway, this was Michael Just pulled to the middle of the road, comes across and gets collected there by one of his rivals. Couldn't quite see who that was, but the number 20 being catapulted around, and in the end, Just really come off the worst of everybody. Can we look a little bit further back and see who was involved in that? Well, we do now get the reverse replay there. Albeit I believe our replay transition taking a bit of time, but here we go. And this was on board with Max Enstrom when he decided to get away. And, well, looks like a little bit of a delay there in terms of getting the replay footage going. But here it goes. And Enstrom getting a lightning quick start. You'll see just in front. Well, Enstrom's going to cut one way. And, well, we couldn't quite see what happened just, but Enstrom getting caught up there and picking up the damage. So a bit of a nightmare moment between them all. But we return to your live racing. And as we do, well, still more to come here, ladies and gentlemen, but that was your big instant of the opening lap. We've also had a couple of drives run wide, and also quite recently we have had a bit of a moment for Sebastian Svensson, as he's had an altercation on the circuit coming to the end of lap number 5. Can we get a quick replay of that? Something tells me we can. Yes, we can. And this was only moments ago for Sebastian Svensson, and, well, he was in the pursuit of a couple of drives in front of him, and the number 13 driver goes around and then goes completely around in the exit of turn number 1, and an easy mistake to make and a very quick one to recover from. But coming back to your live racing, and as we do, well, Philip Hammer still in the chase of the top two, albeit Katarski and Collins now starting to pull away from the third place man. And, well, they continue to push onwards. As looking a bit further back, this is Lucas Verwey up the inside now of Dominic Beck for 13th place. He's making a lot of progress as Verwey after a slow start. When he's starting to pick up the pace here, his next target will be Joao Carcelele. And, well, as he heads around through turns 6 and 7, the very tricky double left apex. That's Carcelele to the barrier there. He's got it wrong coming out of turn 7. And, well, in the end, the small change in elevation over the apex to turn 7 into 8, just catching out the PRS machine there, and the number 17 falls down to the 17th place, and he'll be absolutely fuming and kicking himself for that one, because he won't avoid to make that mistake. Flashes lights immediately. I think that's more in frustration than anything else, and Michael just in front picks up the place in turn. But Chris Carr battling with Max Enstrom here into the opening corner. Enstrom up the inside, and Carr just tucks back in behind there. I don't think he's really got a response at this point in time. I want to stay close and try and put some pressure on, but as he rolls his way on through and in towards the hairpin there at turn at number 4, we jump on board the dashboard of the number 5, well, the number 15, I should say, get my door numbers correct. And right now, Carr, who has gained 2 places since the start, so won't be too upset about that. I think he'll be hoping there's a little bit more to be gained before all is said and done in regards to the racing. But we will see what he's able to do, as Enstrom, they're going very deep as he makes his way out the corner. So both drivers making mistakes of their own volition, but then again, that just goes to show you how hard they are pushing as they try to push onwards a little bit deeper into the race distance. But we are almost a third of the way complete. We've still got plenty more laps to come, and right now the man who ended up going around at turn number 1 on lap number 5, he's now trying to go around the outside there of Komanek on the final corner, and this will be for 14th place, and Sebastian Svensson looking one way then the other. I think he's going to try and dare to dive for the move here into the opening corner, and the answer will be yes, he will get that move done. Lovely move there from Svensson, and picking up another position as Komanek tries to come back at him, but to no avail. But these drivers continue to roll the way on around, and as they come down in towards the hairpin, well, Svensson goes very deep. Does he hold onto the place? He will go defensive to the inside of turn number 5. Yes, he'll hold on at least for now in the number 13, but Komanek there getting closer and closer again, and I think that mental pressure is starting to build between them. But speaking of a bit of mental pressure, well, this has put some mental pressure on Christian Carlson and Dominic Beck, and this was the two of them racing up towards turn number 1. Now, what happened here? Carlson is the man of focus in the number 5. Well, Beck goes around, and Carlson has to slam on the brakes, and everybody with him had to slam on the brakes, and, well, in the end, well, Christian Carlson being able to get away with that, but Dominic Beck not so, and in the end having to recover. So Christian Carlson in 4th place, Dominic Beck with that mistake being demoted all the way down to 13th, and that explains why he's had a big fall from grace on lap number 6. But coming back to your live pictures, everything's happening right now. And we thought this would be a very different style of race, but it is one of our more traditional Porsche Cup races, which is there's action everywhere you look. And well, that's always great to see there, as we do see at Maximilian Camp. He's trying to hold at Cedric Cornet, and also Max Enstrom behind as he gets tapped, and around sideways they go. They all go sideways, and in the end, Enstrom goes and follows in the pursuit of Camp's sideways motion. And in the end, well, it's going to be Cedric Cornet who is able to survive all of that. But my goodness, that went very, very wrong, and not for the right reasons in the end. And well, right now it does seem as though Cedric Cornet will get away with that one. I wonder how much damage he's picked up, and Chris Carr will be thinking to himself, okay, I've just picked up a load of places here from just simply staying out of danger. But speaking of the danger, there's also danger into turn number 4, and Bryn Collins there up the inside in the VRS sponsor machine versus Adam Katarski. Now, was that a move that he forced at his rival, or was it a move which he was invited to go for? We'll have to try and find out very shortly. In fact, we can get a quick replay of that, but it seems as soon as a third of the race is complete, they're all absolutely going for it. And well, this was only moments ago, and Bryn Collins then, the door was open, he decided to go for it, tapped his rival on the rear left quarter panel, and well, something tells me that Collins, I think, was of two minds, and in the end his mind didn't decide what to do, so he accidentally went for it. And well, Katarski won't be too happy about that one. It's brought Philip Hammer right back into the mix as they head on to lap number 11. The top 3 right now ever closer here, and well, the hijinks of the top 2 definitely giving Hammer an opportunity to get nice and close and think about getting involved a little bit more. But these drivers head in towards the hairpin, and as they come on around this time, no such trouble between them all this time around. But then again, from lap to lap and corner to corner, it could all happen once again as quickly as it has started. We'll see what happens between them. As from our top 3, well, we do look back to Rosario Mazzina, and well, he's got Carter Jostock close behind here. And Jostock has only lost 1 place since the start. Mazzina has gained 3 by comparison, so some great gains and great losses being made there between 2 different drivers. But onto the brakes they go, and coming around through the turn 8 hairpin. And right now it does fall back into a bit of a procession between them, but I can imagine these drivers just trying to settle down here and put each other under a bit of mental pressure, either to outpace or alternatively outrun each other, and that's when the mistakes can happen, particularly a very small and technical circuit. There's Tsukuba, and what we do see there, a bit of a late run to the outside from Christian Carlson going out of the final corner. However, by going deep, he gives himself more speed into turn 1, but that speed difference is something he'll have to be wary of there, as he practically has to park the car coming around through the opening corner, because that car was very loose there, was the number 5. But as they come up towards the hairpin, well, from them we'll look back to Lucas Verwey, and we jump on board here with the number 9, as we're going to ride on board for a bit of time. And he's currently chasing after 14th place man Michael Just, who has got just in front of him Mathieu Komenik, who's 13th. So these are 3 fights at the bottom end of the top 15, but it's always intriguing to see battles up and down the field. And well, right now, if your name is Lucas Verwey, the one thing you've got to be thinking about at this point is just staying within touching distance of the battle in front, because they're starting to get a bit firm with each other. They're starting to push each other around. That's always an opportunity for you to think about having a chance there to pick up 2 places for the price of 1 when it all goes a bit wrong between them. But Lucas Verwey right now, he's just staying right behind here as they make the way up towards turn number 9, and we can see there Komenik and Just, their nose to tail, still nothing between them, as Max Enstrom a bit further up the road, or in fact behind we should say really. He's had a bit of an off quite recently. He's holding on to 17th place still. We did have 2 drivers who didn't make it to the grid, and that was Lucio Tonello and Frank Laporte. So unfortunately we are down to 19 drivers in the early stages of this race, but still what we lack in quantity, we always like to say we're going to make up for at some point with regards to the quality of the racing. And we've seen some brilliant quality racing so far, as that was an on-board lap as well with Lucas Verwey in the background. But for the 3 here, battling for 13th, we look to Maximilian Camp and Sebastian Stenson. And, well, these 2, they have been absolutely locked together after what was a bit of a moment for Camp, as he came out of turn number 7, where he was turned sideways. I wonder if we can get a replay of that and what happened there. I think the answer is yes, we can. Can we get on board with one of our drivers? And, well, here is the replay of that instant. We look to the rear. So this was the battle at the time between Maximilian Camp, and his rivals was on the inside, the 21 there, tapping him on the rear, it would seem, and the number 8, well, that was Max Enstrom, who tried to go around the outside of it all and ended up getting tapped. We take a look on board from Max Enstrom's car here, and well, as he made his way through, looking for an opportunity with the 21 at Cedric Cornet, and well, he'll see there that Camp's going to be turned, and Enstrom in the end has got nowhere to go around other than around the outside, but he gets tapped there, and that costs him the opportunity to make up all of the places that are available. So in the end, he lost out the most. Maximilian Camp lost out a bit as well, but the one who gained was Cedric Cornet. But I do wonder ones there. However, Knurt would argue that he was cut across by Camp as he tried to make his way to the turn 6 apex, and therefore he had the right to coexist against his rival. But different interpretations for different drivers, of course, and that's always the story when you do have an incident in motorsport, whether it's esport, alternatively real life motorsport, and the fact that it takes two to tango, but those two dancers in that contact, if not more, will always have the difference of opinions as to what exactly happened. Now, these drivers continue to keep their heads down here as we head towards the halfway point of the race distance, and we do say hello to none other in the YouTube chat there than Vol, who says, "Poor Max," in reference to what happened to Max Enstrom, and I hope you're doing it well there, Vol, and having a good day, and if not, hopefully you can turn that frown upside down and into a big old smile. But right now, speaking of smiles, we'll bring Collins. He may have had to go a little bit devilishly up the inside of Adam Kotarski into turn number 4, and Kotarski, I think, will have a difference of opinion as to how legal that move was when the exchange lead happened. However, Collins will be happy right now that he's leading this race, and he's had to go for a bit of a do-or-die ascend to do it, but still it's worked out here and he's done the job. But now he's got to do the other part of the job, which is to keep Kotarski behind him, and Philip Hammer is still there or thereabouts. The only problem with Philip Hammer at the moment is, again, like we've always said, as that is going to be Bryn Collins. We're going a bit deep there, and well, now the impulse machine of Kotarski's back into the lead here, and well, mistake from Collins means this lead battle is exactly back on once again, and Kotarski getting that place back there, with Collins just missing his brake marker. But now as they roll the way out of turn number 8, you can see that Collins all over the back of his rival as we ride on board looking back from the rear of the lead machine, and well, the number 3 right now just trying to strip away off into the distance here, and Collins looking up the inside turn 9. He tries to dive his nose in, decides to go for a V-shape approach, whereas Kotarski taking a much more gentle C or U-shape approach here through the final quarter. Two different lines, you can get the same speed through the quarter in total, but it's differences of exit speeds there, and Kotarski having the better exit by comparison. But now into turn 1 they go, and these 3, they are so close between them all as they roar the way on through. But heading in towards turn number 4 right now, these drivers absolutely glued together, no doubt about it, as we do there. We'll see some messages being muted by the Nightbot, but don't worry, Vol, we can see those messages and we're not reporting you for those. I think we just got to adjust our Nightbot settings a little bit sooner because it does seem to be a little bit oversensitive, but don't you worry at all with regards to the fact we can see it there. We can see you cheering on at the Impulse Racing machine. But as I head onwards towards the end of this lap, we've still got 10 more laps to go come the end of this one, and we will see what is going to happen between them all before it is all said and done. However, Collins is still right there with his rival as they roar the way out of the corner, and up they'll come then in towards turn number 1 once more. Lap number 18, and there's dive to the inside from Collins, and well, they're briefly obscured. There's a tap between the two and sends Kotarski round, and Hammer gets collected there, and I think in the end on the slow down of the car, Kotarski had the rear gradually coming around. It's natural with these Porsche Cup cars, but I think he won't be too pleased about that, and well, there's a bit of drama between them, and Adam Kotarski right now falls down to 3rd with Hammer between himself and Collins. But definitely a bit of a controversial move there, and I think Collins decided to go for it. He saw there was an opportunity, but I think Kotarski would argue that opportunity was presented, but it wasn't presented to the point that he could be turned around. But we'll get a replay of that when we can, and I think a replay will be coming up shortly. There's a bit of fighting going on further back with Max Enstrom here. Well, he's chasing after Mattia Komanik and also Joao Crosselli. And right now, this is the fight for 13th place, as we have had Lucas Verwey drop down the order. He's had an off-track that's demoted him outside the top 15. So 1 loses, 1 gains, as they say. And Enstrom right now trying to make his way back up through the field. But he's going to have to try and bludgeon his way into these positions, because right now you've got to be quite forceful with overtakes at Tsukuba, albeit you don't want to make contact with your rival. But you've also got to be very firm with the move there. You've really got to stake your claim to a position, and well, for most instances, bar the run out of this corner at turn number 8 up towards 9 on the back straight, normally you don't have that long enough of a run to really gain an advantage, so therefore you've got to make a very big signal, which is you're going for the move, and you've got to try and goad your rival into a mistake. But make no mistake, we promised you a replay of that battle for the lead only moments ago, and here is that replay, and well, we'll get multiple camera angles. And we start off here, as we can see, Bryn Collins looking up the inside of us, Kotarski into the apex, and Kotarski went deep initially, and it looks as though, in fact, there, Kotarski may have got it wrong of his own volition. Alternatively, there might have been a tiny tap, but Kotarski did go deep there. Credit where it's due to Bryn Collins. The camera angle we saw initially suggested he made contact. He may not have actually made the contact there. We take a look back from the on-board here of Bryn Collins, and, well, as he made his way in, door was open, he went for it. Kotarski left it open slightly. Collins had to force it, and then there was the turn round. Now, was that contact, or was it Kotarski losing losing it at low speed. And, well, I think also alternative theory 3 is netcode, and that seems to be a bit of netcode contact there. And, well, good spot there, Vol. And as a result, well, unfortunately, what could have been an absolutely brilliant moment for the lead battle, where it was turned around by a little bit of netcode contact. But still, more to come, and that's what separated our leaders. And Bryn Collins right now running away with things at the front of the field. He is 1.1 seconds clear of Philip Hammer, as we do come a little bit further down inside the top 10. And we're looking to your 5th place driver of Rosario Mazzina. And right now he's got Carter Jostock right behind, as Jostock trying to put a bit of an impression on here as they roll the way out of turn number 8 and in towards 9. But between the two of them, there's nothing at the moment. We'll have to wait and see whether either one can get close to the other, or whether the gap will open up gradually. Particularly if Mazzina wants it to go the way he wants it, it will be to open up the gap rather than have it close on down. Still, coming down to the late stages race, we're down to the final third of racing, and Max Enstrom here up the inside of Komanik, coming out for the hairpin. Well, that's a smooth move there for Max Enstrom, another place gained. Komanik flashing his lights, albeit he's had a habit of doing that every time somebody's battled with him, to be fair. And I think that might just be his way of trying to play mind games with his rivals. But Max Enstrom, make no mistake, moving up a position into 14th. Well, how many more places can he gain before all is said and done? I don't think he can gain that many, because his next target is Carousel, and he is the best part of 1 second up the road. But never say never. As Maximilian Camp, meanwhile, well, he's under a lot of pressure from the flying Swede, and then the Swede goes on around there. The rear comes lifting into the air, and that's Sebastian Svensson, who in the end parts the car in the middle already, doesn't think he can recover it in time, and lets the whole field go around him. Well, to be fair, he's a patient man, and good on him for the patience there, and letting everybody else filter their way around him. But Sebastian Svensson, as he looked at the move there on Maximilian Camp, it didn't quite work out, but he was close, not close enough in the end, and a bit too close for comfort, some could say. But as we have Hadrian Lepeg, the Frenchman here keeping Dominic Beck behind. They're fighting over 9th place as they come on through the corner, and behind them, trying to discern who that is. Well, in front, and that's Chris Carr, in fact. Carr's at the head of this pack, my apologies. So it's Carr, Lepeg, and Beck. They complete your top 10 from 8th through to 10th place. And, well, this is firmly one of the closest battles we've got out there at the moment, and I think it's not quite over yet as Beck looks up the inside, but locks up on the front brakes. And, well, you can understand there a little bit of desperation with the laps coming on down, and that's the thing about the Tsukuba Circuit. We said it before, we'll say it again. Overtakes do not come naturally, and it really is a patience game here. If there's a driver in front of you, you can be as close as you want, but unless they make a mistake coming into a corner, or they grant you the run, and particularly in, say, turn 9 or turn number 8, you've got to stay right behind them, and you've got to press them into a mistake. As always, you're at risk of making your own mistake and potentially sending your rival on his way on around, or their way, I should say, around. Let's never assume genders. And, well, for Dominic Beck right now, on his agenda will be to try and pick up a bit of speed and get behind Hadrian Lepeg again in the battle for 9th place with only 5 laps to go. But will he be able to do so? Well, that will be the question that's outstanding. Well, from him, we look back to the front of the field, and Bryn Collins right now is being chased by Philip Hammer, but I think Collins has got enough breathing room here, and Hammer's laps have been incredibly consistent, it must be said. And in terms of the lap time history between these two drivers, well, you can see it on the bottom centre of your screen. For Hammer versus Collins, he has been absolutely clocking those laps time and time again, as we get the update there for the end of lap 23. And Collins in that last lap was a little bit slower than Hammer, but for Hammer, 54.8, a 54.8, a 54.9, a 54.8, a 54.7. Collins, meanwhile, he has been the fastest of the two, but there's been more variance in Collins' lap, and that's why we say, if you ever want to see Mr. Consistent, look no further than Philip Hammer, because he absolutely knows how to continuously knock in the laps. Indeed, you could say that he is a bit of a Michael Schumacher in that regard. Fellow countrymen, of course, I believe both Hammer and Schumacher hailing from Germany, in the fact you give Hammer a lap time to hit, and he'll hit it, and he'll keep on hitting it within his skill. But we look to Maciej Komanik, and Komanik right behind Stevenson, and Svensson trying to go round the outside to hold the position. He'll just pull back in front of the nose there, Komanik, as they head across that timeline to go on to their 24th lap of racing. And a bit further back, we have Tiago Marchitello, and he's away with the back of Lucas for a while. But the leader's now cutting up the inside. This is going to get very uncomfortable, as Hammer there is made to go around the outside. And right now, the way Marchitello fight each other, Hammer's not happy about it at all. Look how much time it's cost him here with 3 laps to go. And this could force Hammer right back towards Kotarski. As you'll see, stepping aside, there's Marchitello. He recognises that Hammer's there, and he doesn't want to annoy him anymore. in curve after the stewards. And, well, now Hammer just needs to find his way past Lucas Verwey. And if he can, well, will Kotarski get any closer? And I think the answer is going to be no, he may not be able to do so, because he's now trying to pick his way through is Adam Kotarski. And, well, he gets his way past Marchello there, but then he's got to find his way past Verwey. Well, Verwey backs off the throttle initially, but you have to imagine, will Verwey tuck back in behind Hammer to make sure he doesn't lose pace versus Marchello? And the answer is yes, he does. That's going to send him a little bit deep coming through turn number 9. And now Kotarski will have the opportunity here to potentially make a lap on the lap down driver going in towards turn 1. If not, well, in fact, he does it exactly there. If not, it would have been into turn number 4. But they in the end swap all the places around in terms of drivers on the lead lap versus drivers on the lap down position. And from then we come back to Max Instrom as he now tries to find best the rest in 11th. But Maximilian Camp occupies that position. And, well, for them, it's 2 laps remaining after this current one. They're almost a lap down at this point, but they're still enjoying a great battle. And Engstrom there absolutely glued to the back of his rival as we ride on board there with the number 8. And, well, he started all the way down in 18th place. So credit where it's due, he's made a lot of progress, but it definitely has not been the race he wanted. I think he wanted to finish a lot higher, and that drama early on cost him dear. But as he gets caught behind there, and Camp just parking it nicely on the exit at turn number 9, well, they go on to their penultimate lap, as meanwhile, your leaders, well, they will go on to their final lap as they continue to negotiate the traffic. And in front of Collins, that is going to be Svensson, and well, the white flag waves here, but next time around, will it be Bryn Collins leading? We will find out, because right now, trying to work his way past the traffic, and the Swede there steps aside in the national flag flying car, and we're coming in towards turn number 4. You can see Philip Hammer 1.5 seconds back, but between the two of them, that is Maciej Kominek, and well, he'll try to find his way past Kominek as quickly as he can, with Kotarski getting closer by comparison. And well, that's going to be Kominek and Svensson fighting hard, but Kominek backs off there into turn number 5. 9 that Hammer's coming, and he doesn't want to be in the way of Philip Hammer whatsoever. So in the end, I think these drivers showing very good awareness of the blue flags, albeit I think gutted to miss out on battling for their places. But meanwhile, speaking of battles, that's number 16, Lepeg, under pressure, and Dominic Beck. Beck trying to go around the outside, doesn't quite work there. He's going to try and come for it now into turn number 4, where if he's going to go for it, it's going to be a lunge. Doesn't quite get it there, but meanwhile, the checker flag waves, and after 27 laps of Tsukuba, it's Bryn Collins who takes victory ahead of Philip Hammer, with Adam Kotarski, I should say, completing your top 3 ahead of Christian Carlson, who will be a little bit further back here in 4th place. He has got Rosario Mazzina and Carter Jostock close behind, but something tells me that right now Carlson will be safe all the way to the finish here as he holds on to 4th place in the number 5 ahead of Mazzina, and then Jostock completes a run to 6th place. It'll then be at Cedric Hunert, who in the end survived all that contact earlier on in order to come home in 7th place. Well done to him, with Chris Carr a little bit further back taking 8th there as we see him in the rear of the picture. And then it will be Dominic Beck who found his way into 9th place right at the end there ahead of Hadrian Lepeg, who completes your top 10. And then we will have a further 12 seconds behind. It will be the car of Maximilian Camp, who comes on around through the final corner. And what will Camp do? Well, in the end, he'll settle for 11th there, as it's a spin for Joao Casarelli as he comes to the line. And that's going to be a big bill for him and the team, as Max Enstrom in solidarity brings himself on over and parks up alongside and says to him, "You can't park there, mate." But that was your top 13 finishes on the lead lap, and as quickly as the circuit went alive with Porsche Cup racing, it has fallen silent. But you know what we need to do? We need to take a look back at that move made by Dominic Beck versus Hadrian Lepeg on the final lap, and here's the replay, ladies and gentlemen. Now, they were battling at the time, and if you may remember, into turn number 4. Nothing came of it. But coming in towards turn number 8, well, Beck decides to go all in. Lepeg opened up the door there, saw his rival was going to go for it, and therefore they made it a drag race coming onto the back stretch. But Beck got ahead at this point, a better exit out the corner, and Lepeg having difficulty getting the traction down, given the camber of the road surface, and the fact that essentially you go from a cambered corner to an off-camber exit, unsettled the rear left tyre, meant that Lepeg could not get the grip, and Dominic Beck there with an absolutely dicey send. Well, that was definitely a brilliant one of the sends of the day, and moving his way into 9th place. Well done to him for that last minute overtake. But we come back to circuit side, and that brings all your racing to a close. And with it, let's take a look through those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as we can see here, after an absolutely fascinating 27 laps of racing at a nighttime event here at the Tsukuba 2000 full circuit, well, it was Bryn Collins who took victory in the end of the privateer in an absolutely brilliant battle between himself and Adam Kotarski. But in the end, Kotarski losing out with a little bit of netco contact into turn number 1. But credit where it's due, both drivers absolutely going for it. Between the two of them on that overall podium, he took victory at Interlagos last time out, but he takes second here today in Japan, and his pole promotion esports' Philip Hammer, who was your runner-up. Adam Kotarski will be gutted with third place, but he'll look back at that one afterwards and respect the fact that in the end Collins didn't make intentional contact, and it was unfortunate between the two of them, with Christian Carlson there fourth place, and the Norwegian driver doing a brilliant job there. He really was the next best in the field outside of our top three. They were 20 seconds or so behind the top three, and Carlson was at the head of the pile. A further 8 tenths behind him was Rosario Mazzina, and the Italian driver doing a fantastic job of fending off the Charger Carter Jostock for lap after lap for the best part of 12 laps at the end there, with the American driver having to settle for 6th, but I don't think he'll be too upset about that. Head of Cedric Hunert, and the German driver there, well, the number 21 making its way to 7th, but a bit of damage on the car, and I think he'll be having a chat with a couple of the drivers he's involved with after the race, particularly Maximilian Kamp and Max Enstrom. In 8th, it was Chris Carr, and then it was Smiller Esports of Dominic Beck in 9th, who just made that move for 9th place right at the end, as we saw in that replay ahead of Hadrian Lepeg, and the Frenchman round off your top 10. In 11th, it was Maximilian Kamp, and what a drive from him to finish best of the rest. A great recovery drive after that contact mid-race, with Joao Caroselli finishing 12th there, the Brazilian, ahead of Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing, and that was Max Enstrom there, who finished last of your lead lap finishers in 13th place, but the Swede will know that was not a sign of the pace he had here today. He was targeting a top 10 and it didn't go quite right. A lap down, and well, fellow countryman of Sebastian Svensson, who the spin late on in the race cost him dear from a top 10 finish, with Maciej Komanek finishing 15th place just behind, and then completing a top 20, it was Lucas Verwey ahead of Tiago Machitello, and then Michael Just with that opening lap altercation. Well, Indian still able to finish the race. Good on him to see him at the finish. We did see 5 laps down there, but still classified as a finisher, Carlos Akamuma, and then we did have the retirements of both 20th place listed driver there, Lucio Tonello, and also, let's not forget the man who didn't make it to the grid, Frank Port there, and, well, the Andorran driver not able to participate in the race. So 21 starters, 19 finishers, of which 13 on the lead lap, and that brings all of our racing to a close here at the Tsukuba Circuit. But with the racing coming to a close, it's been another fine evening of racing, I'm sure you'll all agree, and just before we look ahead to next time, it's now time for a word about our title sponsor for the iRacing Porsche Cup, and that is none other than CONSPIT. Let's tell you a little bit more about them. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider CONSPIT? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, CONSPIT offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, CONSPIT's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 AM Cup champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in CONSPIT's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. Well, next time out, ladies and gentlemen, then we do head to the Okayama International Circuit. We remain in Japan, but we make our way to the rather remote circuit, and not as popular as it once was, but still highly popular with regards to national and international racing, particularly when it comes to Asian or Pan-Asian series. And, well, the Okayama International Circuit will present an absolutely brilliant challenge with its twists and turns and its reversible direction changes, particularly in the latter half of the lap. But come join us for week number 5 when we continue the story of the 2025 Season 3 iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT campaign, and you'll be able to tune into that broadcast at the same slot, the 19:45 GMT or UTC slot on Wednesday the 16th of July 2025. But until then, we've been the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, and a big thank you to CONSPIT for sponsoring this series. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, like our drivers, remember to stay on track. Good night.